morning and welcome back to Hammond's Upholstery. Back after the summer break. The weather's gone a bit dull. It's been really hot over here till now. But anyway, let's go through and see what we've got. There's plenty of bits and pieces in the workshop. Okay, right, well, we have this little, bits and pieces there, but it's a child's chair. Unfortunately, I need to speak to the customer regarding that one, so that's been put on hold. We've got these 6 dining chairs, 4 there, 1 there, and 1 up on the bench. They're being recovered in a stock fabric. They've just been French polished or repolished, so they're ready to go. We're replacing the seats in them in their entirety. Seems a bit of a waste, but the web's a little bit slack, so anyway, we're doing them. This is the part of the leather sofa that you may have seen in the previous video, that we're going to salvage the leather off this to make a stool. I need to get on with that. Ignore that. This leather recliner's got a broken seat rail in it. Should be relatively straightforward, but to do it, unfortunately, I've got to take the action out to then get to the seat rail and replace that. And then we've got 3 cushions here that need recovering in this fabric. So back to these dining chairs here. Been reupholstered relatively recently. We've got a maker's name there. Maybe you can make that out. But they're in really good condition, but we are replacing them in their entirety, the stuffing. So we're going to use English black and white webbing on their canvas and restuff with rubberized hair. That's how they were done. This is the old English black and white webbing that we're going to be using in there. So I need to rip these 6 chairs up, which will take me a while. I need to get the hair cut, the rubberized hair, that is, not this hair. There's not much of that left to get cut, and get the rubberized hair cut, and webbed, canvassed, and then felt, Luxbond Dacron, and the top fabric. So it's quite a lot of work involved in these, so I need to get on with ripping these up. You can join me whilst I'm ripping this one up, and then I'll get back to you when we're prepped and ready to upholster something. Okay. Okay, so that's 1 ripped up, and that was even partially ripped up, to be honest with you. I had the top cover already removed. So 5 more to go. So I'll come back to you once I've got the 5 ripped up, and we'll take it from there. So hopefully not too long, but you are looking 6 hours to rip the remaining 5 up. So there you go. This is where the cost comes into these sort of things. Okay, this is what happens when you start playing with these chairs. The frames come apart, so I'm going to have to sand off the old glue, re-glue it and re-pin, and clamp at least one frame. I'm 2 frames in, 2 frames to ripping up on one of the 2. It's collapsed already, so it doesn't bode well for the other 4 over there. So anyway, I need to clamp this up, get some glue on it, and get it re-pinned. Hopefully everything's okay then. Carry on regardless. Right, so following day, back on with these dining chairs. You can see over my shoulders. Fortunately, there was only the one that fell to bits when I ripped the cover off and the webbing. So that's been clamped up and glued overnight, and a couple of screws in the bottom. I hesitate to add, the screws were already in there by the previous person that had done the repair. These have been upholstered before. They've got a couple of screw holes in the underside of the chair frame. It's not how I would have done it, but the screw holes are there originally, so I'll utilise them because I'm not creating any more damage. So this chair's been a problem before. So it's glued, clamped, and a couple of screws in it. So I'm just about ready to unclamp this and then web it and canvas it. Let's spin you around and show you. Okay, so we've got a whole contraption of clamps on here. It was clamped and glued from side to side, this front rail originally, and then I've had to remove that clamp to be able to clamp it onto the rest of the frame here from front to back, and this corner block needed clamping in because the fixing's not great here on the front, so I've glued it and clamped it, and that should be absolutely fine now. I used polyurethane glue because it will come off the polish. There you go. Once it's set, it fills gaps as well, and I can remove it from the polished areas where it's potentially dripped down. I think there's one here. There you go. This will break off now. It's been allowed to dry for 24 hours, or overnight, should I say. So get it unclamped, and then we need to get it webbed as this is, and canvassed, and get them back together. So let me put the camera up, have a cup of tea, spot of breakfast, and I'll come back to you when I'm removing the clamps from this, cleaning the frame up, and webbing it and canvassing, so you can join me for that shortly. Right, let's get this part. Move the clamps. Okay, that all seems to have worked nicely, so let's just pick off the glue. Like I say, this glue doesn't adhere to the polish because it's sealed. Therefore the glue can't get into it to do its job. So just pick off the rest of that for now. And then I can clean it up properly when I get some wax on it. Obviously it's advisable to try and avoid getting the glue onto the polish in the first place, but with this expanding glue it oozes out of the, expands out of the joints. So it's a case of either not putting enough glue on or having it expand out of the joints. Dealing with that. I'm sure you've all seen the expanding foam where it does a similar thing to that. There you go. Now, as the underside of this frame is seen, I do need to get the glue off the underside as well. It could have been avoided if the customer had done things in the right order. And when I say the right order, the chairs really needed to come to me to have the upholstery stripped, then go to the polisher to be polished, because at that point I would have been able to advise the customer that they needed a repair, and the frame repairs could have done before it's polished. I'm sure the polisher didn't appreciate having to remove some of the upholstery to be able to do his job as well. Anyway, lovely set of chairs. It's certainly not going to wobble now. Unfortunately, there is some screw holes in the underside of the frame where the previous repair has been done. I've just put some screws in it to strengthen the legs, which is fine if you're going to put black bottom on the job and hide them, but when it's seen, not such a good idea. Right, I'm back in a second. I'm going to get some wire wool. Going through my box of bits. No, seem to have run out of wire wool. Not to worry, wire wool just would have made it easier to clean that up, but I can do it otherwise. So, That's that off of there. So with this frame, I need to wax it because of this glue that's been on it. I will do that in a second, and I'll put it down, and I'll web it, canvas it, and pop it down, and do the same on the other ones. There you go. There's wax. There it is. Too many different colours of wax. I couldn't find the tin I was looking for. So this is just a ebonised or Tudor oak black wax. Pick this up in a lot of places. Get the lid off. Black wax. So I'm going to put some of that on to the frame where I've repaired it. Incidentally, it's a shame you can't smell this. Can you smell it? No, I didn't think so. It smells lovely, this stuff. So the cloth is textured, and therefore it will get the glue residue off as well. It's slightly abrasive. Not like a micro pour cloth. This, if I had some canvas knocking around, that would probably be even better for this part of putting the wax on. This canvas is quite rough, but anyway, that's done that. There you go. Bit that's a bit more stubborn. There you go. Brilliant. Happy with that. Nice repair. You wouldn't know that I've had to do anything with that. Polish is back to where it come out like polishers out of. I'll buff that off later. In the meantime, we'll canvas these up, or web this up first. The other ones are already webbed. Very straightforward process. You've seen me do this before, but I will show you on this one because you've not seen the others. 3 webs front to back. I'm using the standard 10mm long staple to attach this, folding the web over at the back. 5 or 6 staples in it with me web strainers or leather strainers, putting some tension in it front to back. Staple down, fold it back, staple it again. Nice secure webs. Now, started off with this web in the center and then halved it with the next web, keeping them parallel to each other. Now, like I said in my previous videos, if you've watched them, I'm sure you've seen me do this before. We're going to use some leftover fabric remnants instead of canvas. Simply because why purchase 10-ounce canvas, which is getting quite expensive now, and I have fabric remnants available. Now, because this is going to be seen from the underside, I'm going to use a fabric remnant that mimics a canvas and make sure that they're all got the same on them as well. Got to have continuity across the 6 of them. So again, the web through the centre, over, under, over, then the next web, halving it again, but starting off, this one's over, then under on this one. Lots of different types of webs out there on the market. This mimics Old English webbing, which is more of a stripe, but this is black and white with a herringbone in it. Same colours as the Old English, but with a herringbone effect on it. Again, depending on the manufacturer you get it from. There's lots of different types of webs for different purposes. So do make sure you get the right web for the job that you're doing. You do not want to be using back webbing for a seat. It's not going to be as strong. Right, there you go. That's them webbed up. So I need to go and have a look in my rack over there and find a fabric that I can use as a canvas. Like say, the fabrics are going to be stronger than canvas as well anyway. So I'm just going to pause you there and I'll be back shortly. Okay, so I'll show you this. Canvas. You can see through this canvas. This isn't the heaviest weight canvas, but this is a bit of old canvas. So this isn't the 10, 12 ounce canvases, but that's very expensive. This is the sort of standard that you see on a lot of stuff. Don't know if you can see me through that, but anyway. So that's your canvas. This is a cotton or faux cotton polyester brush cotton remnant, a lot stronger, similar colour or makeup, so we're going to use that as a canvas for our customer. Right, let's just cut it into 6 pieces just to So let's get the canvas on. So we're going to do it all the same way. So the face side of the fabric is going to go down. So we must remember to do that on all of them. Cuts to go around the leg. 1, 2. I say leg, it is part of the leg, but it's also the back support. It's one piece of timber on the back of these. Staple there, staple there. Couple staples either side of the leg. Pull the canvas to the front, going up and over the front leg. If you may or may not notice, the front leg comes through the frame here. See this? This is the side rail and this is the leg here. So it creates this lump there. It's so the corners don't collapse so much. Drew in where. Simply staple it to the top rail all the way round. Cut this salvage off. We want about 1 inch salvage, just so enough, just so we can fold it back. Incidentally, a lot of modern furniture, the manufacturers don't put canvas on, they'll put webbing on and then they'll put the foam that they use directly onto the webbing with no canvas. And it saves them a little bit of time. How long's it taking me to do this? And a little bit of material costs. When I'm using scraps, no real material cost. But the problem it causes is that the foam either collapses through the webbing or the webbing cuts the foam, and again it collapses through the seat. The canvas does add a little bit of strength as well to the seat. But they're not interested in that so long as it lasts 12 months of their warranty. Okay, right, so that's one seat done. That's what you can see from the underside there. So there you go, it looks nice. So I'll get on and get the rest of them done, and I'll come back to you when we're stuffing the seat up. I won't go into that now, so I'll come back to you shortly with that. Okay, excuse me. So that's all 6 chairs now with the web and canvas on them. Let's see if you can notice something. This set of 6 chairs, and it's not uncommon to see this, is a set of 4 and 2. The fluting on this leg here, see it's fluted. There's no fluting on these, and these backs are different. There you go. Interesting. We see it quite a lot actually to make up a set to the size that the customer wants. They're very similar. So back to stuffing these seats up. We're going to put some felt here into the centre of the seat. That give it a nice dome in the centre, like so. Okay, brilliant. Then we're going to put our 2-inch rubberized hair. Okay, so this is a crossover. It's a traditional material. This is either coir or horsehair, and then it's rubberized and produced in a sheet like so. So it's easier to install. You work with it very much like you would with foam, but it means that there's no foam in the job. There you go. So it's for the people that want to keep the antique materials in it, but keep the cost down, because to do these chairs with antique materials, either rubberized hair, loose horsehair, stuff and stitched, is a long process, and therefore, because it's a labour intensive time process, it's expensive, and people generally are not always willing to pay for that. Some are. If you've got an antique Napoleon chair, then you'd want it doing traditionally. But these are dining chairs, they're going to get used, but they want to retain as much of the originality as possible. So this is a compromise. It also has an effect on fire regulations and materials that you put on it, which is not something I'll go into here, but there are things regarding fire regulations and what materials you can use. So realistically, the long and short of it is, to the best of my knowledge, don't quote me, is that if it's an antique chair, you can use any fabric you want. It doesn't have to meet fire regulations, the fabric, so long as it's not going over foam. If it's going over foam, either the fabric needs to meet fire regulations, or there needs to be an interliner between the foam and the fabric to meet domestic regulations, and they're even stricter when you get into commercial premises. So anyway, now we put a layer of felt on the top, like so. This is fairly soft, although it looks very thick. It's a very soft felt, so it does compress a lot. And then we tease off the felt along the edges. We don't want it coming down the edge too much, because it will get in the way of any nailing and can create lumps and bumps. So it's just teased off, feathered along the edges, and then we're going to put a Lux Bond over the top. Now it's a fairly heavy Lux Bond I use. This is an 8-ounce Lux Bond, which is great for these sort of things because it adds a little bit of thickness and helps the bumps. That's it. Right. Next, my Lux Bond. Where's the Lux Bond gone? Anybody seen it? Right, it's right behind me. Tear off a bit of Lux Bond. Cut it to go round the legs or back support. Tuck that down now. Fold it, staple it on the side rail being careful not to go down too far and into the polish work. Same with the sides. And if you need to tear off a bit more of the felt as you go, then do that now. As with all the upholstery, I've said it before, the finish, the quality of the finish is reflected by the quality of the stuffing up. So you want to get this right. To make it easier to do the top cover and get a nice quality finish. So these are going reasonably well. This is the last one, and then I shall cut the top cover on. Braid, the customer selected or opted to have a braid on these chairs. Unfortunately, the braid isn't in just yet. It should be here tomorrow or Thursday. Braids are getting harder to find. Just a little bit of interest for you. Used to have lots of companies that would supply braids, but now here in the UK certainly they're getting harder to find. It's just as easy for us to purchase the braid off of an auction site than it is trying to source it directly from the manufacturers now. Right, there you have it. That's that one done. So I'll cut the top covers. I'll leave this here where it is. I'll cut the top covers and we'll be back in a second. Okay. Fabric's cut. There it is. Give it a little spray with some silicone just to help the fabric glide over the fabric. Fabric glide over the Lux Bond. Centralise the fabric. Going to put a couple of staples in the centre, just hold it on so I can get a bit of tension, front to back. Looking at the fabric, I can see a weave in the fabric, so I'm just trying to keep it nice and straight. Ease the fabric down with the palm of my hand over the front, and we'll just put a staple in there for now. So first off, I'm going to make my cuts around the back rail, so to fabric down and at an angle. So as always, seen me do this before now, I'm going from the centre of the job to the corner of that leg. I'm going to stop about 1/2 inch away. Put the fabric down. Same with the other side. Okay. Get my regulator. Should be in here somewhere. Okay. Tuck the fabric down the side of the back leg. Okay. Trim off this, leaving 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Fold the fabric under. This fabric over with my hand. There you go. This is one of the issues that why the frame shouldn't be polished until once the upholstery is stripped off it, or another issue is because I'm now going to be pulling this seat off, and if the frame isn't polished right the way down far enough, you can see there's like a line where the old upholstery was and where the new upholstery is. And obviously we don't want that for the customer, so we try and make sure that that's not going to be an issue, whether I have to add a little bit of stuffing or felt or Lux Bond underneath that corner to not see any line. Now the side, similar process, except for I'm just going to give the side a pull to the front. It's got a round corner, if there's such a thing, a round, what do you call a corner that's round? A radius? Anyway, gonna pull that basically from there to here, a little bit of tension in it. I'm gonna put a staple right on that corner there, or yeah, corner, until I know differently. So now I can cut to go around this leg. Again, same with this side. So I'm stapling the fabric down to the show wood. Not going too close to it actually. Leaving a couple of mil, 3 mil space. Basically the width of the nose on the gun. Because we're using a braid here. And if I staple it right the way down to the bottom, sometimes it can create an issue trying to cover it with the braid. Right, so whilst the compressor loads up, hopefully you can still hear me. That is pretty much the cover on. That's the worst bit done. It's all in position. The cuts are made around the back of the seat. Now it's just a case of putting the pleats in the corners and easing the fabric over and getting the tension from all angles. From tension comes from here out like a sunburst. Okay. So if you can see that, pulling the fabric this direction from here to here, and it creates a pleat naturally, and I'm just pushing the pleat to come to the corner. Now if I've pulled this cover when I put the first staple in correctly and diagonally, not at any other angles, I should be able to do the same with the front edge now, and would create the same length pleat. There you go. So we've got two equal pleats, fabrics pulled. Nice little dart there on the corner. So you need to get your tensions pulled in the right directions to do that easily. And that's what makes it quick and easy, is getting that right. Sometimes you'll see round corners with just a single pleat on them, but for me that is what you would normally do on a square corner, and these have definitely got a radius on them. So nice little dart. Right, so it's more or less a case of just pulling the fabrics over now with your palm of your hand. Want to see this here where we've got the first staple? May release that first staple, but once I've got the rest of it stapled in, because it creates a tack tie. But the first thing to do is the back edge. So I'm looking down here and I'm seeing that we've got a nice smooth edge. We don't want waves in it. Again, if you've got everything pulled off and in the right position to start with, this is a lot easier. Now to the side, easing the fabric over. Got to get some tension in it. If you don't have any tension, if the fabric's on here loosely, by the time the customer's sat on the seat a couple of times, the seat will go baggy. So you do need to get some tension in it. But it's not like leather, which is easier to work with in some respects, because you just pull the leather as tight as you can. You can't really do that with the fabric. Certainly if it's a pattern, you certainly can't do it, because you'll distort all the pattern. Plain fabric's not so bad, but plain fabric will show lumps and bumps. Okay, let's try and get this in a position where you can see better what I'm doing. So from my hand, stroking the fabric over. So I'm going to try and turn this round so I don't have my back to you. Again, same again. I'm looking along the front of the seat, checking that we don't have any lumps and bumps as we go. There we go. There we have it. So that centre staple there is fine, that hasn't created that, and as you can hear, good solid seat. So nice sharp Stanley knife or utility knife, whatever you want to call it. Trim the fabric off, and that's the next stage done. Don't want to trim too close to the staples because the staples that can then pull through the fabric. So these are going to be done relatively quickly now. Unfortunately, I'm waiting on the braid. Okay. One to go, well, one done, 5 to go. See underside, we're not putting any bottom cloth on these because there's maker's marks underneath the customer wants to see. So I'll get the other 5 done and hopefully the braid's not too far away, and then I'll come back to you and show you finishing the braid off. Then they're done, but the braid is just glued on. There you go. Right, so hopefully it's not going to be today, maybe tomorrow the braid will be here. Okay, so we have the braid at last, so we can get on with these chairs. It's relatively straightforward to do. I've just put a staple in there and now we're going to glue it on. Okay. Nice bead of glue along there. Pull a bit of tension in the braid. Cut the braid. Fold it back on itself and glue. Right, I know you probably couldn't see that because I had my back to it, but let's try it again. Okay, with the sides, I'll try and do it so you can see. Right, so I'm going to start off by putting a staple, hold that there. Then I'm going to run a bead of glue for where I think the centre of the braid is, and simply pull it across, in it down with my thumb, and continue. Okay, and again, and just repeat. Okay, compressor's going off, it's just gone off, right. So as I get to this end here, I'm going to cut the braid about 1/2 inch further than I want it to finish. Put a dab of glue on the back, fold it back on itself, and then finish it off. Okay, it's as simple as that. So that's one done. Nice looking chairs, 5 to go. A bit of an anticlimax if you watch the entire previous video which showed me doing the upholstery and everything on it, but the braiding is the last thing. It's the icing on the cake, so to speak. So it's the last thing, and it is simple to do. It is as simple as that. And it gets more complicated when you get corners and so on, when you've got to take the braid round it, you've got to fold it, mitre it, and then bring it round. But these are straightforward. So I'll get these done, and then you'll be back to join me when I'm doing this here, which is the leather stool. That's the base for it there. So that's the base. Okay, so I'm going to talk over myself here. We're going to leave this video here for this week, otherwise it's going to get very long. And we'll come back to you in the next episode where we're doing this leather footstool. So I hope you enjoy this. As always, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay.